Well, greetings from Houston, Texas, at least for today. I'm actually taping this the day before I leave for Ecuador and then on to Cali, Colombia. And it's just before Thanksgiving. So I want to take a moment just to say thank you to each and every one of you over the years who continue to stand with us in prayer, your volunteering, your financial support, your resource support, so we can continue to do what we do from the inner city of Houston to the four corners of the world. You know, if you're like me, the last few months have been very challenging, even financially. And we've seen the challenges in our economy. We've seen global challenges, both human and natural disasters seem to be increasing. And yet in the midst of that, God is so faithful. I want to encourage you today. I know we've all had to tighten the belt a little bit, but I don't want us to withdraw from the opportunities God's called us to reach out in greater measure than ever before. Even personally, you know, my wife and I have had to cut back and not have received quite a few paychecks this year in income. And yet God seems to supernaturally sustain us. We've had to make decisions in our ministry to cut back to a skeletal staff and yet work with volunteers. And yet when it comes to the giving of our charitable giving and our wanting to do the outreaches and helping those in crisis and need, we continue to do the best we can to do that. In fact, with the earthquake in Haiti and all the challenges there, we've had teams there from the very beginning, working with empowering over 700 pastors there, working and building homes for families. In fact, we just had a team come back recently in the last couple of days dealing with the cholera situation. And though we had no funds, we were able to work it out to connect the dots and actually purchase a water filtering system to get down there right after the cholera outbreak. It's a very sad thing that's happening there. That country has been hit so hard in the last year. It's just humanly impossible to express what these people have gone through. And we want to continue to help how we can down there. In fact, just recently, our team that came back was telling me the stories of the outbreaks of cholera that continue to increase with the orphans they were working with and the lack of medical professionals, the lack of resources. And these are things that we need to keep praying into because things are accelerating around the world, but God is still moving through His church and through His people, through you and through me. I was really moved recently when Sydney came to my office as I was praying for a team we're sending to Haiti. Her mother had gone with us to Haiti a few months ago and came back, and they decided as a family, as a pastor's family, to the money they had saved to build their own dream home, to turn that money over to build 10 homes through Somebody Cares in Haiti. That was so moving. Their 11-year-old daughter, Sydney, said, well, that was money for our home, and when she heard the stories of what others don't have, then she decided to start saving her money, and she collected $1,200 and brought it to me here at the office, opened up her box, her little money box, and handed me $1,200 to help build a home in Haiti. I was so moved by Sydney, 11 years old. It reminded me of a story of another girl who was a little girl at the time, was 10 or 11 years old, who didn't have much in her own life. Her family was working extra jobs from another country, from Iran. And she came in and she gave me this filled with coins and dollar bills she had collected, drawing cartoons and drawing paintings and stuff for people to collect money for other kids that might have greater needs than she did. These are true kids who care. These are people that have captured the heart of God. That is the childlike faith Jesus talks about. And I want to encourage you today that no matter what you're going through, that God is always faithful. 2 Corinthians 2:14 says God always leads us to triumph. As we come into this Thanksgiving season, let us truly be grateful for what God does continue to do for our lives. It may not always be easy, but He's always been faithful to bring us to the place of victory in our lives. He's never failed me in 30 years. There's been dry seasons and difficulties, I know, for you and for me, but He's always been faithful to us. I want to encourage you right now out of a scripture in Acts chapter 10 in the story of Cornelius. There were 4 characteristics about Cornelius in Acts chapter 10, verse 1 through 4. He was a man who had angelic visitation in dreams. God spoke to him through angels in dreams. At the same time, was speaking to Peter about coming to encourage and to empower Cornelius. What was it about Cornelius, who wasn't, as far as I know, born again, but someone that God would appear to? One, he was a devout man. He was religious. In other words, he was earnest and sincere, not in some sort of external piety or religiosity, but a man who earnestly wanted to find out from the Creator of the universe, was sincerely seeking after God. He was a devout and sincere and earnest man. Secondly, he was a man who had a respect for the fear of God. Even though he may not understand God at the time, He had an earnest and sincere devoutness to him, and he also feared and respected the things of God. And the third thing, he was a man who gave alms generously, or charitable gifts. In other words, he gave beyond his own, what he was commanded to do, or he was not just giving what he needed to give. He enjoyed willingly giving beyond and generously giving of alms and charitable gifts. I know in Malachi we all talk about that if we give our tithes to God, that we're not robbing from him, and he would open the windows of heaven for us. But really, that's what is required of us as Christians, to give our tithe. But the blessing comes when we give beyond what we're commanded to give or we're required to give. When we give willingly and excitedly and joyously, to give of our alms and charitable giving to others who may not ever be able to give back to us. I was just in Brazil, and a church took an offering, an inner city church, to help us help in Haiti. And I was so moved by that because they give so sacrificially. And when I sent them an email that we were sending some funds directly, that when I got back to Houston to Haiti the next day, they began to cry, as we're crying right now, because we realize we're giving to those who could never give back to us. See, when we give that way, we're giving as unto the Lord. And the fourth thing about Cornelius was he was a man who prayed to God always. He may not understand who God was, but he had an earnest desire for God, sincere heart. He's a man who feared the Lord. He gave generously and charitably beyond what was required, and he was a man who sought God in prayer. I'm reminded of 2 Corinthians chapter 9 for you today and for me, because I believe God's going to take us beyond our circumstances if we keep our focus and stay properly aligned with God. In 2 Corinthians 9, it talks about the readiness in giving, the principles of giving, the promises for giving. And it goes on to say here that in verse 8 of chapter 9 of 2 Corinthians, and God is able to make all grace abound towards you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work. The correlation is not about giving to get. It's about having a heart of generosity to give to the needs of others, to give beyond your own ability, to give with a joyous heart to the needs of others around us. You know, today we got quite a few calls already. We get them all the time, especially with Thanksgiving coming up and the Christmas holidays. So many needs today, so many needs out there, and we couldn't do it without friends like you. So I am thankful this Thanksgiving for you. I'm thankful for your faithful friendship and your continued prayers, and for those who can, your financial giving of generosity and giving charitably, so that God continue to give us a great harvest. When we do that, Ephesians 3:20 is so clear. Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above what we ask or think or imagine, according to the power that works in us. As I get ready to leave tomorrow for the South America, I'm assured and encouraged by friends like you, but I also know that we'll never have to say no, that we'll continue to give out even out of our need. Would you join with me? Offer yourself and myself on the altar as a sacrifice, a living sacrifice to God, that his fire would consume us. He would multiply his kingdom in and through us. We continue to give the love of God in a very tangible, real way to the inner cities of Houston, across America, and around the world. Thank God for you. Join with us. Let me hear from you so we can pray with you, stand together, and do great things at a time when the world is giving up hope. You and I can bring hope. God bless you, and have a great Thanksgiving and a Christmas season.